Hey everyone, Sycra here, and in this video I'm just going to show you through a year's worth of studies. So I started pretty much a year ago, and I've been doing every day I've done an hour study. So this one's a study of Sargent, and this is the next day I did another hour, so it's a master study. And I actually didn't want to show these. I look through them and it's like, oh no, there's so much inconsistency and so much that I'm not happy with. But then I realized that, and this is a Michael Comark study, that, well, what I'm afraid of is showing you the truth, like what my studies are really up and down. Like this one, it's not great, but it's not the worst. So each one I flip through is another hour. So I spent maybe like 5 hours on that one. This one, I don't know. This one's a Feng Zhu study. I tried to do a hand from real life. But yeah, some of these are just really, really bad, and I've been told my biggest problem is consistency. And I think it shows very much in the studies I do. This one's from life, and this one's from imagination. This one's interesting because it took me quite a while to paint the whole thing. Again, it's from life, but there's 3 bottles, and the one that looks the best to me is I don't know if it's white or it's like a creamish color, but that one took like 10 seconds to paint in after the rest took much longer. But anyway, yeah, again, a study from real life, and I think these help me more than anything in terms of learning how to paint, because you don't get to just color pick or match or anything from a photo. You have to determine what the actual light is, and find the relationships and things. So here's just some stuff from probably photos. Here's a mouse. It's kind of hard to see, but my point for doing the studies actually, and I hate this hand, is that I wanted to get better at talking to people and painting at the same time, because I know a lot of artists can do this, and it's something that I really couldn't do, and I wanted to be able to do it. So I figured, okay, let me just practice doing that. I'll just paint something or draw something for an hour every day while talking to friends. So it started out just me and Bob Meatbag would do these together, but later on more people ended up joining. But the thing is, after a year of doing this, talking and painting, I still can't. So I guess for me, I'm just not one of those people who got better at it. Here's a skull that I caricatured. So this is, to me, it's not bad for an hour. It's like, okay, whatever. But others are, a different story. These ones are okay. Some of them anyway. But you see I'm jumping around from all these different things, like this really yuck, but it's from imagination. And this one's probably my favorite from life that I did, just because the tissue actually seems to look quite tissue-like. But again, it's the actual things I was trying to learn. I wasn't sure what I was trying to learn, because it's like, well, I guess I'll do a painting study. But what I would tell myself is, just do it and then move on and do another one and then do another one and do another one. Every day just do one. Because what I used to do is I would do studies and things, and I would try and think, well, am I even learning? And if I don't feel I'm learning, I'll just go do something else. And what I would see is that other people seem to improve just by putting in the work. And I thought, well, what if I just commit to doing an hour a day and don't care about results? So here in this one, I'm really trying to figure out what coloring style I wanted, because I was getting closer and closer to a style I liked with drawing, where I could just call that my own. And so here I liked the bottom left one the most, and so I thought, okay, maybe I'll go with this as a coloring style. And so here I'm just using that in these figures and seeing how it would look. And here I went back to photo reference, and I also caricatured it, so it's a combination of caricature and copying, from a photo. And back to this style. So you can see I'm getting very pointy. My pointy style is well underway, but it's the coloring thing was really difficult for me to find what coloring technique I really like to use. So I set them all on a page, and then for a few days I just did that. So there's another hour, there's another hour, and sometimes it's not much change for an hour. And this is really because, as I said, I'm very bad at talking and painting at the same time. Here's a Craig Mullins study. See, this is what I mean by, like, I'm not consistent at all. Like, that was an okay study, but then this is just like, what are you doing? And this took you an hour? But this is why I didn't want to show it. I just feel like, oh, I don't know if people saw how much I actually fail. Maybe they wouldn't like it. This one, I like this girl here. Anyway. Oh, it's a cloud. And yeah, so I'm sticking with this for a while, trying to get that coloring down. And here's a landscape study, because you get bored of doing the same type of thing every day. So I thought, I'll do a landscape. And this isn't the only painting I'm doing or drawing I'm doing. This is just like the thing that I do when I talk and study. Usually when I work, I have headphones on and I'm not talking to anyone else, so it's actually easier. Yeah, back to these people. And don't know what this is. And this was a bad day. But yeah, I had a friend who I would do life drawing. This is from life as well. I would do life drawings in animation class, and he would see them, and he's like, man, either your drawings are pretty bad or they're the best in the class. And there's really not much in between for me, I think. It's like it's either on or it's off. So I'm experimenting a lot. I think with this one I was just using the lasso tool and then some kind of textured brush and just going back and forth with that and the lasso tool and not doing any drawing. Yeah, so still experimenting. I think in this one I'm just working on little things. Worked on these people down here. Probably clean these people up a bit more. Hope I'm done with this soon. Here I wanted to try out my coloring technique, and I think this is around when I made the my video on how to choose colors that work or something like that, or how colors work, or I don't remember, but something like that. I'm still, really trying to figure out color and coloring styles. This, I wanted to go for a more cartoony, like a Pixar-y, friendly color scheme. I don't know if I quite pulled it off, but it's an idea. A lot of these started out as just sketches in my sketchbook, and then I colored them. I don't know why I did this landscape. It's was not very good for an hour, but anyway, back to my style and trying to figure out a coloring thing. And yeah, it takes a really long time for me to figure things out. So here, this is kind of how I start with the color. So I just block in the color with a gradient. So you'll see like this one has a cooler gradient from like a purple to a green. This one's going from like pink to purple. And so this is like a related color scheme, right? And then I paint on top of that. So see with this one, and then I just paint colors on top. So this is the base, and then it's like, okay, it gets more realistic, and then more realistic. So each one is just an hour, another hour, another hour, another day. So here I'm at August 21st, 2013. And it's just looking wacky. I'm not using any reference for this, but it's like, you can see how the style is sort of anime-like, but the coloring is sort of realistic, and it's getting pretty weird. And I apologize to anyone who's offended by nudity. I paint a lot of nudes just because I don't know, I don't see it as a vulgar or a bad thing. I don't think there's any shame in anything. It's just what people decide to be ashamed of, then they get ashamed of it. Yeah, don't remember, but it's a study definitely of someone else. I went back to this thing. See, this it's just not working. This coloring method of like realistic painting on these very deformed characters, just to me anyway, it wasn't working. It just looks odd. But I kept going with it because I want to take it to the end to see, like, can I do this? Can I make this work? Wow, just a lot of days on these. It's kind of working on this one. Maybe a little bit on this one. Not sure about that one. These are some just drawings that I colored. It's like, okay, let's try more painterly again. Very textured. This is like Affinity Designs for like a personal project that I worked on for a little while. Still early on in the design process, so the characters look nothing like this now. But still trying to play with styles. And then here I did the same people, but I wanted to go cell shaded and see, like, okay, well, what does that look like? Back to more Affinity stuff. This is another project that I was doing. Just a landscape study. So I usually do landscapes like this when I've been doing a bit of other things, and also I find when I paint it's easier to turn off your brain, or for me it is anyway, as opposed to when I'm drawing. It requires so much more thinking, especially because this is just from reference, so I'm not really putting in a great deal of thought, but this one's from imagination, so it's worse, but it was actually much harder to do. Yeah, see, like, it's really inconsistent. The skill level just keeps jumping all over the place. This has been my curse all the time, but I just figured, like, well, whatever, let's just get through a year's worth of studies and then see what happens. So this one, this painterly style, I'm just feeling like this is not working at all, so I went for a cell shaded. It doesn't look great, but to me it looks better than this. It's like, yeah, I don't know, at least it works more with this style. More landscape imagination stuff. And yeah, I mean, it's really embarrassing for me to show this, because I know people who paint, so like at my friends, I paint with them as well, and they can do so much more in an hour, and sometimes I can do a lot in an hour, but other times, like, wow, these are Zagwazev studies that are really jacked. But I noticed his perspective was always really good, so I wanted to study that. And doing some life drawing stuff. I feel like my figures are so stiff. Definitely had to do more of those because things were getting really, really stiff. Yeah, these are, it's like I forget the most basic of things, trying to focus too much on perspective, so things are getting flat. Anyway, so I kind of like this one. It's just another landscapey thing from imagination. I like the colors are a bit more muted, and this is another, I think, Zagwazev study. So I studied him a lot just because of the way his figures are so structural. He's doing so many things well. I wouldn't say he's like my favorite artist, but I definitely admire him. He's one of the artists I admire the most anyway. Photo studies. And this one I spent 2 days on. I was just really trying to get the skin. Skin is such a hard thing to paint. So many subtle value and color changes that it's very difficult for me anyway, when I'm painting skin. Now with this, what I wanted to do is just use the pencil tool to paint. I think I had a gradient for the background, the sky, but the rest is just pencil tool. and it got blurry. Like, it looks blurry, but that's mainly because of I drew it really small and then I just saved it bigger. And this one I think is quite successful. Again, it's with the pencil tool, so this one I'm pretty okay with. And it's a great exercise because you have to find the exact color. You cannot be like, well, it's kind of like this and let me blend it. It's like, no, for it to look right, you have to nail it 100%. And I think with a lot of the Photoshop brushes, when I use the brush, you'll pick a color, but it's not exactly the color that you put down, especially if you have opacity or transfer or anything like that on. Transfer isn't like you have opacity jitter or flow jitter. The colors can change, or even textures or things. So by just sticking to the pencil tool, you have 100% opacity and you have no chance to get the color wrong. So I think when I squint my eyes and it gets blurry, it's okay. It's okay. This one I didn't do as good a job on. This one, just whatever. Again, pencil tool, just pushing that further and seeing what I can do with it. It's very difficult. It's the same as when I was drawing from life, I was learning a lot, or painting when I was doing the life paintings, like the tissue box in the beginning. I learned so much from that, but then I was thinking like, well, but I don't really want to be a painter anyway. Like, I don't really care about this stuff too much. Whereas I do care about figures and things, so you'll see I get more into figures. And okay, so this one, we're getting more life into it again. So it's like, good, I'm warming up. I'm getting a bit of my energy back, which is important. But then this one, it's like, oh, it's getting more stiff again. So this is what I mean by it's just on and off and on and off. And for people that they paint or they just do a few drawings, the thing is, like, it's gonna be a constant, or, well, I don't know, because I feel I'm particularly inconsistent. Like this one, I just had a horrible dream and I saw some image like this, and it's terrible in terms of a drawing. So I wasn't really thinking of the drawing, just the idea. But yeah, it's very, very inconsistent. But so for me, it's like, well, just keep doing it. If only 1 out of 100 pictures are good, then you need to do a lot more pictures, right? That's the way I see it anyway. Is that I don't want to just give up and think like, well, I'm inconsistent, so that's the end of it for me. But maybe I can do something with it. So yeah, a lot of figure studies. I think this one's probably the worst that I did. I used the mixer brush, and I mean, if I was to redo this one, maybe it would take 10 seconds. I don't know. But it's like, what happened is I was so sick, and then I did this with a mixer brush, and it's really easy to do. And then I just spent time like smoothing this out and drawing this face and all this stuff, and it's like, what are you doing? I just, when I'm out of it, I just cannot think. But I don't want to not do a study that day. I want to do it every day, because I feel that as long as I don't break a routine, I can do it forever. But the second I say like, well, I don't feel like doing it, I'm going to take a day off, that's it for me. Because as soon as I take one day off, that gives me permission to take another day off and another day off. So just like I do a journal entry every day, that's not any of this stuff, but I also do these studies every single day. So this is when I went to LA, so I didn't have my computer with me, so it's like, oh, just do a study in my sketchbook. And still in LA, and then back now. So some boobs. This is for when I was doing my how to draw breasts tutorial. I need to do research first. I was drawing boobs for a while. Yeah, more figure studies. It's really tough because I do this stuff where I go from that to imagination. Like figure study, and then I try and do it from imagination. The imagination stuff is just never as good, and it's frustrating because it's like I want it to be better, I want it to be really good. This thing, I was just trying to show how you can make a shape look faster. Like I don't know if this even makes sense to you, but to me this shape looks like faster and maybe cooler than this shape. This shape looks sort of like, I don't know, fat and slow, and I don't know. So just trying to explain something or other, let myself know something I don't know. But anyway, back to figure studies. Boy, see, this is just, I would say if I did this 15 years ago, I would think it's bad. And it's like, for now, wow. This one, it's okay, I guess. It's going somewhere. Again, now I'm trying to draw with my style. So trying to find a color, I'm trying to find a coloring style to suit my style. And again, I apologize for my voice because I'm still kind of sick, but anyway. And then this one's like, yeah, okay, this is I could use this as a coloring style because I'm looking for something that's really quick, and I don't enjoy the coloring process. I only enjoy the drawing process. So I understand that no, you need to be able to color so that people like it. See, this one was okay, but it's fucked up because of the I did like a double knee thing, and I don't even remember why. But the coloring technique itself, it's like, yeah, this works, and some photo study. And so I'm switching now. So you'll see I'm not going to that painterly style anymore. I'm now doing this coloring style. This is kind of how it starts, just flat, and then just add some like overlay layers and some basic shadows. And this is all covered in my course with Udemy. It's cell shading something. Anyway, it's in my videos if you want to look it up. Simple and effective cell shading technique, I think it's called. Yeah, I wasn't really happy with this one, so I thought, what if I get rid of the lines? And it's like, no, I don't like this either. And then I did this one, and it's like, yeah, that's working better. And then this one's like, yeah, okay, that works. And then did another one of that, and this is really, again, I'm trying to work with my style and figure things out. And tried it on a different reference, like, yeah. This one, yeah, I would say that one's okay. This one, I don't know. This is a rooster dude who I just drew him and then I colored him later. Another study. This is again, no comment. I was doing an Attack on Titan thing, and then I felt like I don't know how to draw clothes. And I kept looking at reference of other people, and it's like I couldn't figure it out. So I thought, well, let me do it from life. So the shirts are from life anyway. And for me, I seem to understand things better when I actually do it from life. Again, another guy in this style, same. And then this one just didn't work today. It's like, nope. It's almost like the muse is saying, no, your art ability is gone. Same for this one. It's like, oh, wow, and this took you an hour? Wow, this is all you have to show for yourself? Man, that's just terrible. I was doing like a Sailor Jupiter one. And then the next day, it's like, oh, okay, my art ability is back. So it looks a bit better. It's crazy how it works like that for me. I just feel like I don't have control over it. And I'm trying to like figure out, well, why is it so inconsistent? How do I get in control over this thing? And I don't know if anyone else is in the same position where you just don't have control. Because when I talk to my other artist friends, they don't seem to have this degree of badness where it's like, it's so bad. So this is kind of like a demo of how I do my coloring techniques. It shows all the steps. I don't know, it's not good for an hour, but the idea itself, whatever, shapes are okay. Ooh, trying more like soft shading, not getting a whole lot done. And most of these now, I'm talking a lot with friends while doing these, so it's not much work gets done, just a lot of chatting and laughing about stuff. Spent a few hours on this girl. I don't really like how it came out, but I was trying to figure something out. Um, a lot of experimental stuff. I went to this girl for a while, just experimenting with like a more anime-ish style. These are, I forget the artist, but it's just a copy of someone else. These are original though. This is original for my character Xeon. Again, affinity stuff. This, I don't know. This one's really not good. More affinity stuff, trying to just play around with different designs and colors, although I'm not sticking with this technique. More and more affinity. Oh. Back to figure study. This one's okay. See? I like this one. Turned out okay. Then this one turned out bad. So it's like, it's so on and off. This one's good for an hour. This one's not bad, I would say. Not great, but not the worst. These ones, anything good? Yeah, that one's nice. See, I do like some things I do. It's just very rare to find that one's cool. It's just very rare, that's all. This lady looks French somehow. Hyun Tae Kim study, more photo painting with the pencil tool because I felt it was useful. More affinity stuff. Affinity. Jeez, that's I don't know what this is, and some funny faces. I don't know. Painting studies, I guess. I don't even know why I'm showing you these. Just because I feel it's... The fact that I don't want to show them to you makes me feel like I probably should. Because that means if I'm uncomfortable, I'm probably being honest. And what used to bother me is I would see artists' good stuff, but I never see their bad stuff. And things like, you know, I heard stories of how when I was learning anyway, teachers would tell me how, like, Michelangelo, he would burn all his bad drawings. And it's like, man, I wish I could see them, because otherwise you just see the best work and you think that artists are like gods among men, but they're not. They're just, you know, they fail a lot. And for me, I think I fail more so than most. More pencil tool. I don't know why I always do pencil tool with like girl studies, but I do. This is a school girl thing. Yeah, I turned it into this thing. And some animals. I figure I haven't done animals, so let's do some animal studies. And I don't think they're good, but you can get away with a lot more with animals, just because like no one really spends as much, or people are less judging about animals that are badly drawn. Whereas with humans, it's very, very easy to tell when a human is badly drawn. This is just a study of another artist. I'm sorry, I don't know their name. Another artist. This, I tried to do that. I tried to copy their pose, but do it in my style, and I think it's pretty cool. It's kind of like, I mean, obviously they deserve 99.9% of the credit for their original image, but I just think like sometimes their stuff in my style looks kind of cool. What can I say? I don't know why, but Bob Meatbag really liked this one. I don't see why he does, because to me, like, look at this. I really don't like how the chair is shaded like this, and then the girl's really rough, and then there's this texture. It feels very not well put together. But anyway, this is an interesting page because I wanted to show you a little bit how I go about doing things. Like when I talk about style, people, maybe they think, well, style is just naturally what you come with, but for me, it's not. So let's say So what I did is I draw an ear from life, or not from life, but from photo reference. And then it's like, okay, how would I convert that into a sharper style, into the style I use? And then, see, for this, it's like, well, could I do it like this? It's like, no, that's too pointy. That looks messed up. So it's like, okay, like that, because you were getting that wrong. It's the hints principle, right? Like, hey, it's not that simple. That's how I feel about things. See, here's the reference ear, and it's like, but these are all different choices. I have to choose, you know. Even this thing of, I don't know why, I was trying to make an alphabet and just think the same thing, like, well, you could draw an M any way, how would it look in this style? And so I don't think I ended up with sticking with any of these ways of drawing an ear, but it's similar to this one. I did eventually stick to something like this. Same with noses, see, so this is a reference, and it's like, well, how much do I simplify? Do I simplify this as like boom boom, or just boom, or do do like that? And this one ends up looking more manly, so it's like, maybe when I'm doing a man next time, I think back to this. And same with noses. But this is also when people sometimes just do things and they've just watched anime, and it's like, well, I see this shape, so I'm just going to do this shape. But it's like, well, what does that shape mean? Where does it come from? Whereas when you start from the reference, it's like, okay, so this is why you get that boop boop shape, you know, you get the nostril from behind and things like that. So anyway, I don't know. I think that's, or I hope that's helpful to people who are trying to understand about style, but who are trying to, or who have heard this thing about, you start from realistic, then you go into a style, or you learn the rules, then you break the rules. This takes a long time to learn all these rules. You can spend many years just on learning how to draw things properly, make them look realistic. And then there's another study from, I think, a Chinese artist. Oh, this one I think is an okay page, because the things are sharp, but they still have some degree of form. It's not too much, though. I mean, this one's okay. It's still sharp, but it's got like form, and it's like, it's hard to do, though. It's hard to do things like this from imagination, and they still look quite stiff. You know, they could be a bit more loose and flowy. I don't know, another, I guess, landscape study thing. This one I did from a reference, and these ones I didn't, so it's just like they're worse. It's really annoying. It's annoying when things just don't work and you want them to work and you almost expect them to work, and especially when I start to think like, hey, I kind of know what I'm doing now. I've been drawing for a good 28 years. I don't know. I mean, it's 28 years since I did my first drawing, but I guess if I want to say how long since I've been like decided like, yeah, I'm serious, maybe over 10 years. And I know cynics like learned how to be a great artist in 6 months and whatever. I can't do it. Some animal study. These ones, I don't know if they're okay. This is skin study again. Just like all these little tones are so hard to get right to make skin look like skin. Don't know what happened here. This, I was trying to do crazy foreshortening. And then it's like, okay, this is super crazy. I just want to push it to as far as I can possibly go in here. I'm using the coil technique, if you can see it anyway. You can kind of see that there's some of that. Yeah, see here, you can see the coiling. But yeah, it's not perfect, but it's just, I wanted to see if I can do that kind of foreshortening. This one's an interesting page because I started out here, and usually what I've done is in the beginning of because I do hangout study session things, in the beginning it's usually just me and Bob, and then more people drop in later. So when Bob doesn't talk too much, so then things go a bit nicer in the beginning in terms of, because I can focus more, and then when people come in, it gets a bit weird. I thought this one, I don't like. I don't think the face really suits, but that's kind of cool. I think some parts of that are cool. Um, but then Cynics came on and he started doing like this animation stuff, and I was looking at it and it's like, oh, that's cool. But then I remembered like, oh yeah, I can do that stuff too. So I started doing like a different animation-y style. You can see just how different it is, like how this is all sharp and stuff, and how this is completely different. The problem with these styles, like these look nice as drawings, but they're very hard to color and paint and flesh out. Like this one, it's like, oh, that looks cool. But then when you really think about it, it's like, wow, that arm is way too short. Like shoulders here, elbows probably here, wrist would be here, hand would be here, so the gun would be like way down there, maybe, I don't know. But it looks okay, you know. That's the thing with certain things, they're deceptive. Same with this. Like it's like you don't get bothered too much, but when you really think about it, it's like where's that leg going, right? Like it's just going down here, needs to connect up here. So anyway, yeah, more figure. I do so many figures just because it's something I really want to learn. I think that's it. Yeah. Yeah, because this is already today's, and that's 368 days. Okay. So yeah, that's, I guess this one's the last one? Yeah. It's a study from some other artist. But anyway, I don't know if that was whatever, but over and done with, and you got to see, you know, how bad can get. And thanks for watching.